A woman in Texas is suing the University of Texas at Austin for discrimination, stating that their affirmative action policies led to discrimination and led to her not getting accepted into the school. Now, the woman in question here is Abigail Fisher. And apparently in 2008, she applied, but she didn't get in. And she's claiming, hey, look, what the hell? I got good grades. I was part of a bunch of organizations and groups. Why wouldn't you guys let me into the school? But then you allow all these minorities that had worse grades than I did. But Slate did an excellent job in analyzing the situation and figuring out that
she was dumb.
She wasn't dumb. She wasn't dumb. But her grades were not good enough to warrant her getting in.
No, you know why she's dumb? Because she made this argument. Because she went up there and made the argument as if she was some sort of horribly wronged person. So what's dumb about her is, hey, look, it was hard. You know what? If you're not, everybody in Texas who finishes the top 10% of your high school class, you can go to UT Austin, right? She didn't finish in the top 10, which left her, that fills 92% of the in-state residents, 8% they get elsewhere. You weren't good enough to be in that 8%. You just weren't. You were close, but you weren't good enough.
Yeah, so we actually have the numbers for you guys to make that case. But first, let me give you her quote, just so you know where she's coming from. She says, there were people in my class with lower grades who weren't in all the activities I was in, who were being accepted into UT, and the only other difference between us was the color of our skin.
No, see, and that's why she's dumb, because that's not true.
All right. Well, here's what's happening with this case. It's likely to go to the Supreme Court, but this has been happening. This entire case has been dragged out since 2008, and I'll tell you exactly how. Back in 2009, a federal district court upheld the university's policy and rejected her lawsuit. She appealed the decision to the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, which upheld the prior ruling. In the last grasp for success, her lawyers appealed their case to the Supreme Court, which in a 7-1 decision vacated the previous ruling and sent it back to the 5th Circuit for a second hearing. So it goes back to the 5th Circuit, and they basically had the exact same ruling again. It is equally settled that universities may use race as part of a holistic admissions program where it cannot otherwise achieve diversity. So as a result, since the 5th Circuit Court has basically made the same ruling again, the case is going to go back to the Supreme Court, where they will decide whether or not she was actually a victim of discrimination. Now, to give you some more information into the University of Texas at Austin, you touched on this a little bit. You can score in the top 10% of your high school class, which grants you automatic entry. She did not fall in under that category. You can also go to one of the satellite schools and then transfer over. She was given that opportunity, but she rejected it. Okay.
Yes, what she wants to do is be a giant pain in the ass, and she's good at that.
She is. She's very persistent.
By the way, she's now 23. Like, did she not go to college?
I don't know what her story is, but at this point, I'm hoping that she received her education somewhere else, because she seems to be wasting a lot of time. Now, according to the school, here's the way that they handle admissions when it comes to those who do not score in the top 10% of their class. They weigh grades and test scores along with essays, leadership, activities, service to the community, and special circumstances. Those range from socioeconomic status and school quality to family background and race. Okay, so it's a very comprehensive thing. It's not like they looked at her and said, you're white, and then they looked at a black person and said, you're black, we're gonna bring you in because you're black. They look at a number of different things, and then they decide based on that whether or not they're gonna let that person in. Now, according to the analysis on her achievements or lack thereof, neither special circumstances nor grades were determinative. Of the 840 students admitted under these criteria, 47 had worse grades than Fisher, and 42 of them were white. On the other hand, or on the other end, UT rejected 168 black and Latino students with scores equal or better than Fisher's. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, but I mean, and look, the case is tricky, and it might not win, because you saw that vote was 7-1 in the Supreme Court, with Ruth Bader Ginsburg as the dissenting judge, and Elena Kagan didn't vote because she had
to recuse herself.
Right, even if she had, it would have been 7-2. So it could go. The court could look at, Breyer and Kennedy could look at what the Fifth Circuit said the second time and go, okay, you've adjudicated it to our satisfaction, because the key word there in this case is strict scrutiny. That's what all these affirmative action cases, many of them, boil down to. And they allow you to have diversity be a factor, but it can't be a factor just for being a factor. It has to be And that's why they're using these crazy terms like the holistic admissions program, where it cannot otherwise achieve diversity. Like they got to go, and we've set up a system starting with the Bakke decision in 1978, University of California, where you can't have quotas. They're like, because that was like 16 out of 100, they're going to make minorities. And the court was like, no, you can't do that. You can have affirmative action, but you can't do that. So they've left people sort of trying to figure out some way to do it. And the 10% rule actually is fairly effective because it doesn't distinguish between the quality of the schools. And we all know that education in most states is wildly imbalanced, and that an all-minority school is not going to be as good as another school. But here they're saying, no, those 10%, many who are all going to be minorities, they're all going to get in.
Exactly.
The problem is if those schools aren't good, then those kids might not be ready to go to UT Austin because you've done a lousy job prepping them for college. So there are problems with that. But nonetheless, I like it because it was at least the heart was in the right place.
The heart was in the right place.
The 10% rule.
And they want to genuinely give people from all different backgrounds a fair shot into a college education. If you completely discount and disregard someone's background, and I'm not just talking about race, I'm talking about socioeconomic status, I'm talking about the situation that they were raised in, the situation they were born into, and the disadvantages that they had to deal with, well then they're going to have a much harder time getting into college as opposed to those who lived in a more privileged lifestyle, right? So if you are living in a poor area and you don't have access to quality education, I'm not saying that they should just let you in, right, into college just because of that. But if you have achieved things throughout all of those obstacles, then you deserve a fair shot.